Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the False Nine podcast. My name's Stephen. We have Charlie and Luke. Connor failed on us today, the absolute fraud, but it's all good. We're going to do a top six review so far, considering it's the international break. And first, I want to start off with is, the most controversial club I think I can think of, and that's United at the moment. I've got two United fans with me anyway, so this should be interesting. But opening, you played three fixtures if I'm not wrong. Yeah, you played three because you played late in Europe. Um, I think. Well, I'm going to let you guys go ahead with this. What do you think so far? The review of the season. Obviously, it's not been good, but is there any positives you can kind of like find from, or you can, you know, um, take from the opening three games?
I mean, there's positives against Brighton and Crystal Palace that we didn't concede six in those two games. That's probably the only positives we can take from them because defensively we're just absolutely shambolic.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to find a positive because realistically, Brighton were unlucky not to win that game. Like you could be, you know, 0 for 3. Like you could be 0 wins, 3 losses. Like, do you think Ollie would be gone if you hadn't got that win against Brighton and you of course lost to Tottenham?
No, I don't think he'd be gone, but he'd certainly be under a lot more pressure. He is still under a bit of pressure now, but not as much as he would have been.
Yeah, I mean, the only positive I can find, actually, to be honest with you, I'm trying to even look for positives to, you know, start a conversation really. But honestly, the only one, maybe the late transfer window activity, bringing Tellez in, he's definitely an upgrade on Shaw. Um, Cavani, I don't know what you guys think about that, but do you think that's a positive or something you can um, hedge your bets on and like, or put your hopes on? Maybe he could help turn this around, or do
I
you just
mean,
think?
maybe, but it's a big maybe. And I think the business came too late. I think we would have had much better chance in the first two games of playing better if we had new signings in, would have given the whole team a lay. I certainly think we would have beaten Crystal Palace if we had signed Sancho the week beforehand, just because of the lift it would have given the entire team.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's not about Of course, Sancho would have been nice, but even if you brought maybe Tellers in earlier, or you brought in someone else, maybe a DM or something, or they would have gave everyone a lift anyway. Like regardless, like any big sign that you feel that's gonna improve on a starting position that you in your team, yeah, the squad would have got a lift. But I think yeah, you're right. The business definitely came too late, in my opinion.
That's
Anyway.
definitely the board's fault. Like you can't really blame the manager for lack of signings.
Yeah, you can't. But let me play devil's advocate. Do you think Ollie is helping the board by the way he comes out in press conferences?
Hang on. Can we just go back to that saying, oh, we should sign Sancho or oh, we signed Cavani? There's no use buying attacking players if your defense isn't sorted out. It
Yeah,
looks like we've
true.
got four random chaps off the street and asked them to play back four. Maguire, Bambi on ice, Lindelof, the weakest, shittest 1v1 defender you're ever going to see. Beek, he's a great defender, but a bit like reckless at times. And I'd like to pinpoint Wan-Bissaka as well. Last season, for about 75% of the games, he was very consistent. Say what you want about his attacking, but his defending was excellent. But towards the end of last season, after lockdown, and this season, he's been atrocious. I don't know whether that's a tactical change, but his positioning is all wrong. He's getting caught out way too much, and he's not stopping crosses as well as he used to. Now, I don't know whether it's that he's unfit or what, but he's definitely not performing at the same level.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. The fitness. Is it maybe that the fact you went deep into Europe and you didn't get that win, like you didn't win the competition? Because if you, I feel like with that and the way things panned out, I think it would have been so important for you to get the win, like to win that trophy.
Yeah, but
because that would have given you a boost.
These are professional footballers. They're
suppose,
paid. They're paid to stay in shape. How many weeks did they get up? 2. Like, you don't just turn into a fat shit that can't run after 2 weeks. Like, actually, there's a stat. United have run the least out of all top 6 teams this season. Now, I know they were down to 10 men against Tottenham for most of the game, so like obviously that had a toll. But like Ollie said when he came in, he wanted to have the fittest team in the league that outran everyone, and it's just not happening.
But do you not think? I'll put it into perspective. When you guys were playing your semi-final, Liverpool had 7 pre-season training, so we got our break and we were in pre-season. It does the pre-season lack of pre-season play into this at all, or do you feel that?
Well, like we were doing well last season. Like, there shouldn't have been much to change. Like, it couldn't have been that hard to come in and do what you were doing beforehand. Our pressing has been way off, and there's a clear problem with the midfield. They're getting walked past, like literally strolled past, and that's because we have Fernandes and Pogba playing together. But you think with them in midfield, okay, we're going to concede a lot of attacks and not be great at the back, but at least they'll create something going forward. And they're just not doing it at the moment either. I mean, Martial hasn't had a shot on target in the Premier League this season in 3 games because we're just not creating anything for him whatsoever.
I suppose, a team full of the quality that you have, but you do have a quality of, like, okay, losing to Tottenham is probably acceptable. Maybe not the scoreline, but losing to them because they're a good team. But maybe Palace at home, I just thought no matter the lack of preseason you got, no matter how maybe unfit the players are, or how the lack of sharpness, you should be not putting them to the sword, but you should be beating them. Like,
yeah, I think when we saw the fixtures and we saw our first 2 games were Crystal Palace at home and Brighton away, we were saying, oh, grand, that's 6 points at least. Like, we would have fancied nearly all 3 of our front 3 to have got a goal in either one of those games, and it just hasn't happened because the poor defensive shape. And I mean, it looks like Ollie's sort of changed his formation, because Pogba used to operate in the 8 role, and that's sort of what got Ollie his job, but he doesn't seem to be operating there anymore. He's playing him in a double pivot with Matic, and granted, Pogba's performances have been poor, but maybe we should move him up to the 8 with Bruno and see what can be done. But then again, I don't think Matic has the capability to play alone defensive mid, so maybe that's something we're going to have to look at in January to get the best out of Pogba once again.
See, I think the double pivot is to protect defence, in my opinion. I think whenever you see a manager play a double pivot, it's to accommodate a style of football where he knows he'll be committing players forward. And I think if a manager like Ollie changes to a 4-2-3-1 from a 4-3-3, which was very attacking, there's the indication for me is that he's trying to make sure that this defense doesn't get exposed. I think Matic, the problem with Matic was Matic came in. When he came in and started performing well, he hadn't played football in ages. He was fresh. And now he just looks off the pace. He doesn't look like he can get around anymore, which has been the case for a while. I think Ollie probably, in my opinion, I think Ollie definitely would have wanted a defensive midfielder. Like, he cannot be that naive to think that Matic is not going to be at, like, he's not going to play at that level that he was playing at for much longer.
Well, I think we're going to have to go into the market for another, like, world-class defensive midfielder at some stage when Matic retires or legs go even more than what have already gone. But we spent 40 million on the midfield in the summer, and we spent it on Van de Beek, and I just don't know why we signed him, really. I mean, like, what is his role in the team? He's coming on, Ollie doesn't want to take off Fernandes, so he's coming on like left and right wing at times with 5 minutes to go. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, you can say, there's 50 games in a season, so he's going to play a lot. But, like, realistically, Pogba and Fernandez, like, they're not going to be dropped. And if one of them does get dropped, then the fan base is going to be angry. So, like, Ollie will not drop either of those two. So, like, what is Van der Beek even here for?
Yeah,
Apart from playing a few cup games.
Yeah. The Van der Beek one, the only explanation I have is either United were starting to panic and they just said, look, we need to go look for an available midfielder. But I would combat that with the fact that Partey was free he was available, like a release clause.
It was widely known as well,
for an extra 10 million. I think maybe someone, Van der Sar and Ajax, they obviously have a good relationship with United for obvious reasons, was probably pushing Van der Beek out because they were like, we need to get some money for him. He's the last one of that team he was the last kind of star of that team that went so far. I know Neres is still there, but I'm talking about De Jong, Van der Beek, the Dutch kind of core of that team that was left. So I'd say they were pushing him to try to get as much as they can, and United obviously bit. But imagine if you just got Partey. Like if you had Partey, paid an extra 10 million, triggered the release clause, because Arsenal only did it last day. And
yeah, they were slow.
Yeah. Like. Maybe Arsenal would have bit if someone came in. Maybe that would have told them to cop on and they would have gone for it. But if you had Partey in that team, you maybe play Pogba in a freer role. You could. Now, in my opinion, you still need centre backs anyway, because I think if you're going to play two attack line and eight, you need a solid back line, and that's what City struggled with. But how does he turn this around? Does he go for a more conservative approach and just try, grind out 1-0, 2-0 results just to get you up the table, get players back fit properly, and maybe just stop the slide? Really, like I don't really know what you guys think. Like, how does he stop the slide?
I don't think he's gonna stop the slide. I think he's gonna get sacked, unfortunately. I mean, if you look at our winner fixture, Chelsea, Arsenal, RB Leipzig, PSG, it's not looking good. I mean, we can't defend it against the likes of Crystal Palace, and Tottenham. How are we going to defend against the likes of Mbappe, Neymar, and co? Like, I think it's the beginning of the end for Ollie, to be honest.
All right, I'm gonna stick on my tactician hat here, right? Okay. What would you be against them going to a back five? I know United fans don't like the back five.
I actually think the back five would work quite well because Tellez could. The only flaw, once again, is Wan-Bissaka because the chap can't attack or play a pass that's over 10 meters. But anyway, maybe we could utilise him as right centre back. But then again, we don't have a right wing back now that we got rid of Dallo. I think if we could potentially play Maguire in the middle of a back three just so he doesn't have to do as much running, and then cover him with maybe pace like Boy and Tunzabe or Lindelof. But
you could play Shaw left centre back.
Yeah, Shaw's whack. Like,
really? Well, I'll tell you, if I see him go to a back five, I think he'll play Shaw left centre back, he'll play Maguire, and he'll probably play Lindelof. But I think he should play Boy, Maguire. I wouldn't be like, I don't know, I'm a Liverpool fan. I hope it all goes to shit, but I think I can see him. I just can't see where he seems very loyal to Shaw for some reason.
I don't know whether it's because he's honest in interviews or good with the media or something, but to be like, I don't see what anyone sees in Shaw, to be honest. He hasn't got a goal or assist in the league a year, none last year, none so far this season. Dreadful performance at Tottenham. Should have got sent off, or not at Tottenham, against Tottenham. Yeah. Should have got sent off. Horrific challenge. Blood seemed to go to his head there, but that just showed how far off the pace he was. I mean, nowhere near Lucas Moura. Oh, fuck this! I'll just take him out. That's poor. That's just a poor attitude and being way off the pace.
Yeah, I think this is the interesting one because we all know what got Ollie the job. It was the nice football. It was the 4-3-3. It was he was playing the United way, and he was appealing to United fans after so many years of defensive foreign football. Would United fans just prefer him to go back to the 4-3-3, insist on playing this brand of football that got him the job, or would United fans prefer him to grind out wins? I suppose they would prefer a balance, but it's hard to get that balance.
When during that period we didn't have Bruno, we have him now, and now that we have him, he's playing sort of where Pogba used to play, maybe a little more advanced in the 10, and it seems like Ollie's trying to accommodate those two, but it's not really working. I think they both prefer to play as 8, but at the moment one's playing as a 10 and one's playing as a 6. It doesn't really make any sense. But as we've already said, if we want to play them both as 8s, we need a competent defence and centre defensive midfielder, which we currently don't have. Well, when you think about it, like towards the back end of last season, how many big teams did we beat with Fernandes and Pogba? Like most of them were Southampton's, Crystal Palace's. Like Manchester United should be beating those teams. Now, if you go back to when we were winning big games, Man City, draw with Liverpool, even the loss to Liverpool at Anfield, there was a common denominator there. Fred was in the midfield. Now, I'm not saying start Fred over Pogba or start Fred over Bruno, but I think 2 DMs, Fred and Matic, I think it has to be brought back in, particularly for the run of fixtures we have. You can't be starting Bruno and Pogba in the same midfield. Whether that means start Bruno right mid or something, I don't know. But you can't really, like, there's just no defensive solidity there with Pogba and Bruno in the midfield. Like, obviously, you can go through a game and beat Southampton, or even though we didn't actually beat Southampton, when I just think about Sheffield United, you can scroll through a great game against them and beat them comfortably with Pogba and Fernandes in midfield, because they don't have the quality going forward. But any team with the ability to hurt you on the break, they're going to run riot with that midfield.
Yeah, I called it when I don't know if you remember when Bruno came in. I just couldn't see Pogba and Bruno working together in a team. I just thought that you needed a world-class defensive midfielder who could cover as much ground as you needed them to, and you had a solid back line. What might help with that is the fact that maybe your full-backs, okay, Tellez coming in now, but Wan-Bissaka, he doesn't really attack. Well, he can't attack in my opinion, but he doesn't really attack as much as you'd see a Trent, a Walker, or a Reece James or something like that. But yeah, I think one of the key factors on this is centre back. You need a centre back, because if you can establish a platform of a solid partnership, yeah, you can go right. We can play Pogba and Bruno. We can put a DM in there, be a Fred, be it a new one, be a Matic, and we'll know, right, we're solid enough here. You guys do what you need to do going forward. We have it back here. There's a lot of work to do, Ollie, but we'll have to wait and see. What's the next game again, actually? It's
Newcastle away, we are.
Oh, right.
Yeah, tricky one, especially without Martial and Cavani. It's a must win.
It is a must win.
I mean, United should be beating Newcastle, but they should also be beating Spurs at home, if we're being honest. But like this season, we've just been shambolic. We could go on about it all day, but we probably should just move on to another team at this day.